Hello everyone, welcome back to Gentleman's Cooking Channel. It's the second episode of our series on knives, and today we're talking about chef knife, and we're going to be comparing German chef knife versus Japanese chef knife. When we're talking about Japanese chef knife, we're going to be comparing Western style Japanese knife, which means it's almost the same shape as German knives, but it's made in Japan. It's a double beveled Japanese knife, not the single bevel traditional Japanese knife. Now the first thing, let's talk about an angle to which both knives are sharpened. On Japanese knives, it's usually around 12 to 15 degrees, and the knife is sharpened more on one side and less on the other side, which is called 70-30 bevel, sometimes 40-60. German knives, they sharpened at the same angle on both sides, which is 50-50 bevel, and they usually sharpen to around 20-22 degrees. It does make a difference in terms of the sharpness, because the smaller the angle, the sharper the knife. German knives also usually made of a thicker and softer steel. On Rockwell hardness it's around 54 to 56, and Japanese knives Rockwell hardness level is 60-61. Steel is usually thinner, which makes them easier to cut through the food, because knife is thinner overall. But with the Japanese knives, if you hit a bone or like frozen food, because steel is harder, the knife is more likely to chip, and it's going to require a professional to fix the knife, which also going to cost you some money. German knives, because steel is softer, if you hit the bone, it's less likely to chip. It's probably just going to bend, and you can easily fix that on a hanging rod, just running it a few times back and forth. Now let's talk about the shape of the knife. German knives usually have a more pronounced belly, which means the blade is curved, which makes them perfect for like rocking chop motions. And Japanese knives usually have the more flat edge, which makes them better for slicing. So now let's talk about the sharpness and how sharp you can get both knives to be. As I said earlier, Japanese knives, because steel is thinner, they're sharpened to a smaller angle, they tend to be 10 to 15% sharper than German knives. And because steel is harder, they're gonna hold their edge better. They are harder to maintain as well. You're gonna have to invest in whetstones, which we'll cover in another video, and you're gonna need to learn the technique to sharpen them. Where German knives, they're not gonna hold their edge as long as Japanese knives. They are easier to sharpen. You can just buy a machine or like simple tool to sharpen them, or send them to a professional every once in a while. But steel is softer, and before each cooking session it will require just a couple of strokes on a hanging rod, and they're gonna be razor sharp again. So now let's talk about the price. Japanese knives are gonna be much more expensive than the German knives because of the materials used, and chef knife is gonna cost you anywhere from $100–120 up to thousands of dollars. Where German knives, you can get even one of the best Wurtzow knives. They're not gonna cost you more than $200, $250 tops, maybe $400 for a Kramer knife. But you can pick them up as cheap as $10 to $15, like something like this. This one's actually from IKEA. But again, they're not gonna last you as long as Japanese knives or good German knives. So it's up to you to decide. Do you want to buy 5 cheap knives over the course of a year, 2 years, or you want to save up and invest in a good knife which is gonna last you a lifetime. So which type of knife is the perfect for you? Gonna depend on your needs and on most common tasks that you do in the kitchen. If it's more with chopping, then probably German knife. If it's slicing motions and some delicate food for which you need that sharp edge, then you're better off going with the Japanese knife. Go to the store, pick a few knives that you think you might like, hold them in your hand, see which one feels better in terms of the length, weight, and that's the only way to pick the knife. If you're just starting out and maybe you're learning how to sharpen, I suggest going with the cheaper knife, because I made a mistake. I learned to sharpen on almost $400 Misono UX10, and I completely messed up the knife over the course of like 6 months. Then I got another one, and this one has been with me for the past 5 years, but I do know how to sharpen it now. So guys, I hope you found this video useful. Share in the comments which type of knife you prefer. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for more videos.